the middle of July, watering the back garden. These beans I planted from seed, and at the top of this one is a startling discovery: cicada skin. Look at the amber eyes glowing. Terrifyingly beautiful. These runner beans will grow on twine, I've discovered. And every day I come along and twine their snaky little heads. These long-limbed, dragon-like formations with 3 leaves sprouting. Ancient Greeks forbid the eating of beans, or its resemblance to the human fetus. And 3, of course, is a sacred number. The bean is the theme of the back garden this year. Over here we have purple smoke bush with a purple fence, a big black composter. Beans on twine all along this fence, this new fence, this beautiful new fence. And what used to be a soccer training netting is now a support for peas that I started from seedling. I've got some zucchini flowering here. This is the shady part of the garden. Doesn't get much light, but right now it's beaming through, and I think they're doing okay. Leggy, to say the least. It used to be the soccer goal. It was the penalty area, and I put up this hanger, wrought iron hanger, and festooned it with beans and vines, morning glories, etc. Some nasturtiums. So that kind of blocks off the soccer area. Here where the penalty spot used to be, where I used to stand, now we have some bush beans. And, these tubs are planted with turnips from seed. I put some stump planting technique to use, and this bergamot seems to really like it. Hasn't flowered yet, not enough sun. Here I've used a no-dig method, popularized by Charles Dowding. Just put cardboard down over the grass and plant in a layer of composted topsoil. Seems to be working fine. I've got tomatoes from seed. These lettuces were indoors, and they survived transplantation very nicely. Some pumpkin over here, starting to climb, starting to reach. And all along the back here, this beautiful new fence. Beans and a few clematis, although they haven't really done well, the clematis back here, without the sun. No one does well without the sun, but decorated the back wall with mend and make do, some scrap wood thrown together, and beans and climbers. I've got these ones going straight for the roof. Morning glory and runner beans. And here we've got some moonflower, which I can't wait to see in the moonlight. Legendary moonflower growing across the bedroom window. Romantic purposes, obviously. And I want to show you the rare case of man-made copying nature. I took this piece of vine that was dangling forever and just wanted to be a vine. It's a cable, electrical cable that was dangling. Look how well it's twined here. It's provided support for this bean, and then the bean has continued to go up the electrical cables, transform them into this beautiful green leafy decoration. The difference sunlight makes. More beans here, started from seeds indoors actually, way back in March, April. Tomatoes and globe thistles for traffic control. Between the globe thistles and the sharp-edged zucchini, cats walk a pretty thin line. This is a winter squash which took off where the tree used to be. I only made one trip to the garden center and I took whatever they had. Some of what they had was winter squash. And there is a clematis that just opened today. Just opened now. Oh, what a beautiful flower. I'm waiting for that to open. This little clematis has been battling with the rampant hops twiner. These raspy rapscallions. I wanted the clematis to grow up this old, beautifully twisted old gnarled limb that I found. Instead, the hops has taken over it, and the clematis has had to weave through here, around, back again, and finally to bloom. The shambling mound of vines, silverleaf, which have been threatening to consume me every time I pass. They set these trap wires and then try to pull me into their leafy embrace. Picked for that this spot. This is the cheerful spot. As I enter the grim tunnel between the suburban house, I have a cheerful glance from these beautiful little heliotropes. Variegated false sunflower is how they label them, which I think is a terrible name for a real flower. But here are the real sunflowers. There's a forest of them here. The tallest one is got to about 10 feet, I think. Yeah. And they're just starting to open as well. Planted some lavender here where I would step on it accidentally on purpose and release that smell. Sorry, bees. Here in the front we've got rows of green peppers, beautiful white eggplants right here. Again, I took what they had at the garden center. I've got calendula planted in between for brightness. That orange flower is self-seeded. It's beautiful. And then I've got the now rampant morning glory I started from seeds. They've now hit the top of their supports and need more twine. I'm not sure if the front garden really can do with more twine. It's already looking pretty great. I think so. Who cares what the neighbors think? Bougainvillea says hello from the front. We've got pots of tomatoes. The flower bed is now being taken over by the zucchini pumpkin plantings. The pots in front now yielding quite a bit of tomato. In fact, they're tipping over their cages. They're out of their cages. They are out of their cages. Savages. See you, flower phase. These are delphiniums. And in the back now, pumpkins. Starting to reach out. Here I have containers of beans that I started from seed. I had them grow up a netting to cover the space, and they've framed it well. We now have two. We've hit the top of the netting and are curling back. In behind we have Veronica, lovely lady. I think of you when I'm with her. Tomatoes, brandy wine, a recycled storage container as a planter with peppers, more tomatoes. We've got another squash, winter squash, climbing up the back, very dry on this side of the view from my front porch. A trellis of beans using the sunflowers to climb to extraordinary heights. Much more substantial than squash. Lavender in full bloom. I planted here a pot, waited until November, got it for 70% off. And it's a his and hers situation. Wife is camera shy. Don't know why. But I sit here and I can pick at it and help it along. We've got some basil and parsley right by the door when you need it. Calendula, tomato beans, and in between, those little spiky blue flowered herbs are hyssop, which is that I read about, associated with cleanliness and used to cleanse a space. So I planted one on either side to the front door as you come up the walk. The tomatoes have burst out all over the place. View from my front porch, a trellis of beans using the sunflowers to climb to extraordinary heights. Much more substantial than squash. Lavender in full bloom. I planted here a pot, waited until November, got it for 70% off. And it's a his and hers situation. Wife is camera shy. Don't know why. But I sit here and I can pick at it and help it along. We've got some basil and parsley right by the door when you need it. Calendula, tomato beans, and in between, those little spiky blue flowered herbs are hyssop, which is that I read about, associated with cleanliness and used to cleanse a space. So I planted one on either side to the front door as you come up the walk. The tomatoes have burst out all over the place.